We've got car payments, rent, phone bill, coffee, that trip to South America, and Netflix. There's a lot of things that we gotta pay for. But what are we actually supposed to do with our money? And does the Bible provide any perspective on our modern concerns? For Faith is Strong Today, I'm Anita Wingley. Millennials get a bad rap for spending recklessly, splurging on entertainment and travel instead of buying a home or starting a family. But that's only in comparison to the money habits of older generations, who had different life circumstances and priorities. The way we use our money is indicative of the times that we live in. Research shows that 2/3 of millennials have at least one source of long-term debt, whether student loans, home mortgages, or car payments. And among those who went to university or college, that figure jumps to 81%, who have at least one source of long-term debt. One of the key differences for millennials, and especially Gen Z, from previous generations is that we were raised with technology, adopting cell phones in our youth and learning computers in grade school. This has huge ramifications for how we live our lives. Much of the pressure millennials feel to conform to the financial habits of others comes from social media. When we see other people celebrate their financial milestones, like buying a home, a car, and posting all this publicly. A survey from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants shows that over 75% of millennials want to have the same clothes, car, and tech gadgets as their friends, and half of them will use a credit card to pay for basic necessities, such as food and utilities. Home prices in major cities across the country have also skyrocketed, making it more affordable to rent than take on a huge mortgage, which explains why more millennials are living at home longer, or living on less through minimalism, or traveling. So clearly the world has a huge effect on how we use our money. But should we be listening to the world for our cues on how to use our money, or to God? Most of us know to tithe, to give God our first 10%. But what do we do with the other 90%? While the Bible is not an instruction manual for financial management, it does give us guidelines and principles that are worth following. So before we jump on the bandwagon and pick up the next iPhone or invest in cryptocurrency, let's consider. Everything that we have, including our lives, is from God. The psalmist praised God, saying, "You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." Even the ability to earn money, especially for those of us who live in developed countries, that's a gift from God. And that makes us stewards of our lives and of the money. Imagine how differently we would think about money if we understood that God owns the money and we are just God's money managers. We talk more about this principle of stewardship in our video on creation care, linked below. In Mark chapter 12, we also find a story that's very relevant to this topic of money. Jesus sat opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in the treasury more than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." For Jesus, it's not about the amount of money, but about the heart. Are we trusting in Jesus for salvation, or are we trusting in money for security, significance, and joy, things that ultimately can only be found in God? So when it comes to personally deciding how you should use the money that God's put into your accounts, the best place to start is with prayer. Ask the Holy Spirit to guide you and direct you so that you can use the money in the way that most honors Him. Plus, there are plenty of thinkers in the history of Christianity who reflected on this topic. You can check out St. Benedict of Nursia or St. Francis of Assisi, who advocated for renouncing everything and serving the poor, and John Wesley, who preached sermons on the use of money. In our video on faith-driven business, we also pointed to some Christian organizations working at the intersection of finance and faith. You can check it out, linked in the description. Now we pass the conversation over to you. Do you get anxious about managing your finances? What difference would it make if you brought God into your budgeting process? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear. And for more conversations on culture and Christianity, stay tuned to Faith Strong Today.